So it's going to be a very exciting presentation. I'm delighted to introduce Jeremy today. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Jeremy from Issues in Action Circle. We have a discussion circle that meets on Sunday afternoons. You're all welcome to. And Jeremy has a long resume, CV. He is by training a chemical engineer and in CPA, it's called something else in Britain, where he's worked for several large corporations. He has also been a consultant to governments and to the United Nations. He's, in other words, I'm trying to make it clear that he's very knowledgeable in his field of finances. About 30 years ago, he moved with his two teenage sons to Park Slope. And recently, he's been working in Puerto Rico on a very interesting and exciting project that I think we're all going to want to learn more about. That's why he was invited. He picked the quotes and the music along with his wife because it's all relevant to the topic. As an aside, just to add, Barbara, his wife, is an accomplished artist and an active member of Good Neighbors of Park Slope, where some of you might know her, because I know some of you are as well. So now let's welcome Jeremy and listen to his talk. You're on.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Joel, for that nice introduction. As you can tell, I'm British, but here I'm coming to you from Puerto Rico. And I guess I'd better sort of introduce why and explain why I'm in Puerto Rico, give you a bit of background to my life. I worked for many years as a CFO of large corporate US and UK companies. But about 20 years ago, I decided that I could leave the corporate world. I was toiling there and getting much more frustrated with every year. So I left corporate America and tried to launch my own businesses. Many of them failed miserably, predictably, but the last one stuck. I joined up with a friend, my partner, to run a private equity fund. We were then based in Connecticut, and anyway, this was about 12 years ago, and 10 years into it, a couple of years into it, we found our first substantial project, which was funded, I'm sorry to say, by a Republican billionaire. I'm sorry about that. It was an abandoned, bankrupt, half-completed real estate development, mixed-use development in a rundown area of San Juan. That has been followed over the years with several other sort of construction projects, mainly in Puerto Rico, including a marina and recently 150 affordable rental apartments for seniors. So when we made our first foray into Puerto Rico 10 years ago, we found the electricity and water bills at our development were incredibly high, $100,000 a month. And the cost of electricity in Puerto Rico is 3 times higher than on the mainland. And that wake-up call was, got me first interested in renewable energy. And I immediately constructed a modern megawatt solar roof on our car park. I think we have a slide of that. Maybe. That's
yes.
it. Yes. Okay. So that's our 1 megawatt solar array on. It's been through many hurricanes. It's very, very resilient. Still producing lots of electricity. It's offsetting about $15,000 a month of electricity costs. We also installed huge storage tanks, 200,000 gallons of rainwater, which keeps all our landscaping in good health and free. After that, after a year or so, we bought a marina in Puerto Rico. And again, as part of the cost savings initiatives, which were absolutely necessary again, because of the cost of electricity, we installed a larger 3.5 megawatt solar array in our marina. And there's another slide of that. Yep. And there it is. It's ground-based on about 3 acres. Again, it's been untouched by, well, it's been touched, but not in any way affected, particularly by the hurricanes that have blown through. It's pretty resilient. So having got these two out of the way successfully and constructed them nicely, I was very much keener to invest then in large-scale industrial solar arrays, ones that would really make a difference. Before I go there, let me explain about electricity in Puerto Rico. It's a mess, quite frankly. It's expensive, it's polluting, it's unreliable. The public utility, it's PREPA, which is Puerto Rico Electricity Power Authority. It generates about 2/3 of the island's electricity, mainly using highly polluting bunker fuel. Very bad. But the rest of the island needs, the other third is met by independents who burn coal and natural gas. Clearly, this is not an eco-friendly production. There's currently virtually no renewable energy on the island. So I decided to do something with the experience that I had, and I found some sites which were permitted and suitable, and I just failed to get any projects off the ground because PREPA resisted any encroachment on their business. They had no plans to invest in renewables themselves, but were happy to prevent anybody else. Our opportunity came about 3 years ago when the government of Puerto Rico passed a renewable law that mandated a huge increase in renewables. And suddenly it looked as if solar was going to happen, and PREPA was being forced to open up to third-party projects. Well, last year we applied for a 25-year supply contract and were approved. Only one of 2 projects were awarded last year. Ours was for a very large 120 megawatt installation. It'll be the largest in the Caribbean, enough to power about 50,000 homes. The site is in Salinas, which is in the south of the island. It's nearly a desert, lots of sunshine, little rain, perfect, of course, for solar. The land had been cultivated for sugarcane many, many years ago, but hasn't been found for years. And the town of Salinas itself, a short distance away, is extremely poor, one of the poorest communities in Puerto Rico. And our project will provide good employment. If you could show the next slide, this is the slide. This is the site as it was about 3 weeks ago before, or 4 weeks ago actually, before Hurricane Fiona dumped about 30 inches of rain on the site. This is, it's early days yet. We've cleared some of the site, and you can see some storage there, solar panels, batteries from Japan, racking coming from Turkey, transformers coming from Germany, and so forth. You really build these things internationally. The supply chain is enormous. Anyway, since we were awarded that, just a couple of months ago, we awarded 2 more contracts for 60 megawatts, one alongside our site that you can see there in Salinas, and the other a few miles away, and construction is going to be building next year, probably finishing in early 25. Just to give you a scale, because you can't see half of the land here, the Salinas site that we have is 700 acres. That's larger than Prospect Park, which is Wikipedia says 560 acres. So it's a really huge chunk of land. And that has raised a real concern in Puerto Rico that valuable farmland is being destroyed by large-scale solar installations. Now, we don't believe that should be a big issue because there's so much unused agricultural land in Puerto Rico. Almost all viable agricultural land right now is unused. And in our case, it's semi-desert and never be farmed again. However, there's a campaign in Puerto Rico and in ecological justice circles in Washington to cancel these projects and instead put all solar panels on rooftops. In Puerto Rico, as elsewhere, actually, this is impractical. There are lots of impediments to doing that. Cost, it's 3 times more costly. It involves creating a smart grid where power goes all over the place. You have to fix and maintain all those roofs. And there's a high concentration, which is dangerous for resilience in around San Juan. So we believe, like virtually everybody else, that this should be a mix of big projects and rooftops, as it is almost everywhere else in the world. Coming back to the sort of farming sort of aspect, which we recognize the concern about it and are seeking to address it. First of all, we've got 2 initiatives going to address these concerns and be good citizens, right? First, we're going to replace the 2,000 trees that we have uprooted on our land to make way for the panels. We're going to replant it with 6,000 new trees on our land. And secondly, we're going to create a hydroponic farm on the site. Before I get to hydroponic, here are the seedlings of the first batch of trees being shown to us. Yeah, these actually we've got 2,500 of them being grown at the moment, and they'll come on site in probably the next 6 months. The important thing about this is they are moringa trees. If you've never heard of moringa trees, they're an absolute miracle. They are the most resilient, the most nutritious tree in the world. They have more protein, more essential minerals and oils than any other plant. Everything about them can be used, eaten, or used in some way. It's absolutely fascinating, and I don't know why there aren't more moringa plants around. Anyway, we plan to build a small facility alongside our forest, our moringa forest, to produce leaf pellets for fish food. You dry them and grind them and produce fish food. And this is particularly because we found a company based in Puerto Rico which is developing a hydroponic farming system. It uses tilapia fish, more to come on that, but hydroponics is an indoor process with vertically stacked trays of growing beds, which are fed by circulating water enriched by nutrients. And the next slide, I think, there you go, shows some produce, I'm not sure what that is, with their roots dangling in the water, which is ambling past them. This is not soil-based. This is indoor. All these racks are stacked up one on top of the other. The whole thing is in a climate-controlled environment, and each rack has LED lights with a lot of sunlight, LED sunlight on them 24/7. So what you get out of it is 12 harvests a year, highly organic, farm fresh, very tasty. I've had the lettuce, the basil, the strawberries, and so forth. It really does produce great produce, and it's 100 times more efficient than normal outdoor farming. And the company that we found, it's in Puerto Rico, that are trying to build this system. They've enhanced this whole system by cultivating tilapia fish for their manure. They're using the leaves of the moringa tree to feed the fish. And the fish who live in the circulating water system that goes around the roots of everybody, they poop into the water. And that poop then, which contains all the protein and lots of good stuff, goes past and nourishes the plants, which then grow and we eat. So it's this whole thing is in a pilot stage. It uses a lot of electricity, of course, to power the lighting and the air conditioning. But of course, we have our solar power right next door to provide all of that. So the two systems kind of live together nicely. one real benefit from this is that not only does it produce high quality produce, but it offsets the huge cost of produce imported into Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico produces virtually none of this. So it's high cost and it's stale. So another benefit of having hydroponics is it's great to work there. It's not like traditional farming outside. This is cool indoor working conditions. And we're able to pay pretty decent wages, which is massive in a community that we have in Salinas suffering from very high unemployment. We should know by the end of the year if that pilot plant works properly and it can be scaled up onto our land in Salinas. Here are some pics of the pilot plant. I've got 3 pics. I think there's some growing beds. These are in the existing sort of little pilot plant. You can see, actually they're stacked. They will be stacked up about 15 high after that. And there's another slide, I think. Yeah, that's the growing room in the first stage of the pilot plant. Then the next one is the new pilot plant, which is much, much bigger and will be proof of concept. So that's it's all very exciting to us, and we're just waiting to see whether or not this works as we hope, and we can unleash on the down in Salinas. Just a little bit on. I said I'd come back to tilapia. Tilapia they're a nice big freshwater fish, and yeah, here's a nice little tilapia. So they're all in this circulating water system. Tilapia fish are very, very territorial. They fight each other for space. So to stop them killing one another, they're all arranged in a huge circular tank. And the fish just keep swimming round and round and round in search of a corner to defend. It's, I guess, fortunate that they, or so I'm told, they only have a 5-second memory because they just churn round and round and round. Anyway, so that's tilapia fish. And that's really the essence of where we've got to with our eco-investing down in Puerto Rico. I just want to make a shout out for Biden and the Senate Democrats. They've recently passed the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. That's given and will give a huge boost to renewable projects. The tax credits, as they've been arranged, will encourage a lot more renewable construction, rewarding US manufacturing content, supporting poor communities, and mandating apprentices. And in fact, our local contractor is already meeting the apprenticeship requirements. And for future projects, we intend to ramp up that US manufactured content, in particular, by using Tesla batteries. As it happens, Biden is visiting Puerto Rico tomorrow, and we hope to get him to visit Salinas and maybe see our project. I'll let you know. By way of sort of tying the bow in this, come back to our first project in San Juan. We bought unused land next to the initial development, and we're building a public park. A gift from our Republican investor to the local community. There you can see it. It's much bigger than that. It's only just part of it. It's about 6 acres, decent sized park. And continuing the reuse theme, all our topsoil will come from our land in Salinas. The lighting will be powered by solar panels, the landscaping watered by our rainwater tanks. I get great satisfaction from seeing how all our projects connect and support one another and can really drive the economic, the eco qualities of it all. It's a virtuous circle and very pleasing. And you know, one of the other benefits of us concentrating on renewables and eco stuff is that we see a lot of interesting opportunities. The one that's caught our eye and we're pursuing is biofuel manufacturing. That's making diesel fuel from plants. It's high on our list. It's environmentally much better than solar because it doesn't involve so much manufacturing of cells and batteries and mining of rare materials and use of of poor labor and so forth. More to come on that, I hope, over the next year or so. Yeah. So that's the eco story. Before I finish, here's a personal story that goes to the quotes that I gave at the beginning. I used to take Lipitor. For 30 years, I've had high cholesterol. I'm a keen jogger. I started to get pains in my legs. And after failing to cure anything, my doctor said to me, look, it's simple. You just have to stop taking the Lipitor and go vegan. I went vegan, I stopped the drugs, and the pain very quickly went away. Now, look, I didn't go vegan for environmental or animal cruelty reasons, but for selfish reasons, right? Of course, I now feel very virtuous and recommend veganism to everybody for the planet's sake. But just as I thoughtlessly and accidentally fell into veganism, I have joined the fight against climate change. I now care about it a good deal. Although I work within a capitalist system, although I started my eco-renewables journey with absolutely no ethical intentions, I have evolved. I find myself totally engaged and wishing I had more time and more energy to take the fight on. So that's the story. Happy to take any questions you have about any of these projects or anything. Also on stuff on the issues facing Puerto Rico. There are many of those that are being in the press off and on: statehood versus independence, the tribulations of PREPA, the Hurricane Maria rebuilding, tax breaks given to Americans, corruption, the Jones Act. There's any number of things of issues that face Puerto Rico. So happy to, although I'm no expert and I can't speak for Puerto Ricans, it's their country. I have some facts and context on some of these questions.
Jeremy, thank you so much. What's the story? I don't know what that is, but thank you, Nancy, for that slide. The way we do it, we're going to have some another song, and then we'll go to the Q&A. There's a whole bunch of hands up. I just want to take the opportunity just to make sure. So this is a money-making scheme. It's an entrepreneurial venture. It's not by itself just a do-goody event, right?
Absolutely. It's yeah, I mean, I'm a dreaded, I run a private equity fund, a dreaded capitalist, invention. We do only do projects which have real economic benefits for the communities around us, and we're careful about what we do.